I was on Twitter this week and something was trending, and the tagline was "Music fans mourn albums fading staying power in the streaming era." This stemmed from a tweet from Sean Cotton where he says albums don't stick no more at all. We used to be stuck on albums for months, years, and he laughs. After reading that tweet, I'm sure many would agree with him, but why do so many people feel this way? In this episode, I want to dive into the reasons why I think people feel this way and whether it's actually the case. Before I start though, for a bit of background, I'm an independent label owner and a record producer with many years of professional experience in the music business. More about me in the description. Every era of the music business, from the pre-recording era's sheet music, then the recorded music era, when you finally had the phonograph, radio, vinyl, then CD, and finally the digital era with MP3s and streaming. Let's look at what these eras have in common and what separates them from one another. The pre-recorded era had sheet music, and you had to actually be in the presence of someone who was actually playing music, or you'd have to be playing music yourself. Fast forward to the recorded music era. This era includes vinyls, the 8-track, cassette tapes, and finally the CD. Did you notice what these eras have in common? Each of them have a physical component to it. People who bought sheet music back before the recorded music era could take that and hold on to it with their hands and actually use it. In the vinyl era, people who loved music could go to the record store, buy a vinyl, and take it home and play it. Same with CDs. Now, I grew up buying and playing CDs, and I could possibly tell you every CD I bought at a store. I could tell you for many albums how I felt going through the liner notes and the feeling of playing it for the first time. Now, let's talk about the iTunes MP3 era. This is where things start to turn. Now, remember, this era is important because this is the first era where piracy was connected to a service, i.e. Napster. For those who weren't alive during that era, it was the closest to streaming you could get. You could literally find any song or album that someone else had on their computer, hence the name file sharing. And you could fairly quickly get access to said album. Still, even then, more people bought music then versus now. This is where the plot starts to get lost. Enter streaming. By this time, most people have stopped buying physical albums outside of superfans, and listeners have access to every album imaginable. Listeners now had access to nearly all commercial music they could listen to. This changed the music business as we know it, because now it wasn't if the music consumer had enough money to buy the music they wanted to listen to, it was if they had enough time to listen to all the music they wanted to. This, in my opinion, is where nothing was the same. The physical connection that happens when you're listening to an album that you had to do something or pay for while looking at the liner notes hit way different. So I believe the reason why we feel that albums are fading after a few weeks is for two reasons: the accessibility of streaming and the physical experience of a physical album regardless of format. All right, let me give you an example on the physical side. I could remember the first CD I bought with my own money, and I know the first single I bought on iTunes. If you show me a list of albums in the 2000s and up to the 2010s, I could tell you if I actually bought it or not. I can literally remember going through the liner notes of nearly every album I bought. It's that deep. Now, for streaming, it's impossible to listen to every release from week to week. And if you happen to listen to an album that doesn't get you coming back over and over again, you're likely to forget about it if you're not reminded by friends or social media. So how do we fix it? The music business has to figure out how to replicate the feeling we got by opening a CD for the first time, and that might be something that could be done digitally. Also, artists that gets fans to revisit their releases through community outreach and social media will give listeners a reminder that the body of work is still relevant. It isn't easy, but plenty of artists do this successfully. Now, the last thing I wanted to address was those two things combined give people the feeling that albums were fading faster, but charts tell a different story. There are plenty of new albums that stay in the conversation for months, even over a year. I wanted to throw another bonus reason why music fades faster than ever. Who remembers MTV TRL or 106 in Park? If we go back further, you have Soul Train and other shows that highlighted the best music out at the time. Most music listeners watched these shows, and when artists were featured, they were able to reach wide audiences at once. Today, with the segmentation in media, people aren't massively watching the same content. that leads to music discovery so artists could be massively successful but not widely known. Today, with the segmentation in media, people aren't massively watching the same content that leads to music discovery so artists could be massively successful but not widely known. I'll leave it at that for now, but let me know if I should expand my thoughts on that. And I want to know your thoughts. So what do you think? What do you agree with? Is there something I missed? If you made it this far and you're not watching on the Valholla Now playlist, this episode is connected to our video playlist mix show, Valholla Now Radio, which features content and music and entertainment like this and the latest music videos. To watch the show in full, curated by yours truly, hit the link. And thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.